This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Thanks for hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And it's that time of year where there's just lots and lots going on. So we'll get to all of it coming up here over the next 2 hours. Kiki Riley from The Advocate covers LSU baseball. He's with us in 15 minutes. He was there yesterday as LSU defeated Southern. He'll be down to Bahia as LSU takes on Nichols in a chilly environment down there in Thibodaux. It's a what-if Wednesday. Harold Perkins is moving positions, kind of. Talked to Matthew Brune at 2 o'clock about LSU hoops. Got a baseball recap and a look ahead this afternoon at 2:15. And then we'll get to my first SEC baseball power rankings at 2:30. I've put them together. I have watched like 5 SEC teams play. I've looked at stat sheets. I've listened to podcasts. I've read some game stories, but it may not be perfect. We'll just get through it at 2:30. Appreciate you locking us in. Let's start the same way we start each and every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Two things can be very, very much true at the exact same time. LSU played the worst basketball team in the SEC last night. That is true. LSU played its most complete basketball game in the last 2 months last night. That is also true. The Tigers handled South Carolina from the start of the game to the finish of the game and won it by 14. It was never really close in the second half. The Gamecocks never truly made a run. And LSU deserves credit for that. We're all aware that LSU is 3-10 in the league. We are all aware that South Carolina is atrocious. Like, all that we're aware of. But that doesn't mean that LSU didn't go out there and play well. South Carolina has played 7 SEC teams within 5 points. South Carolina has put up a fight against some of the better teams in the league on a given night. They never win, but they put up a fight. They didn't put up a fight against LSU last night. The Tigers came out and scored 10 of the first 14 points of the game to take a 10-4 lead and never really looked back. You look at the duration of the first half, and yes, South Carolina hit a 3 to cut it to 2 at one point, but LSU immediately went on a 7-0 run to make it 9. South Carolina, in the last 15 minutes of this first half last night, never made consecutive baskets, meaning scored twice without LSU scoring between them. Never once happened in the last 15 minutes of the first half. And that allowed LSU to open up a 14-point lead at halftime. And you figure at some point, okay, South Carolina's going to make a push. And they kind of did. LSU got a bucket right out of the break on their first possession. Damian Collins scored to make it a 16-point lead. And then South Carolina goes on a 7-0. Thomas hits a couple of twos. Pringle knocks in a dunk. Murray Boyles hits a free throw. And it's 9. And at that point, you're going, okay, here comes South Carolina. LSU immediately stretched it out to 14. Curtis Givens hit a 3 when his defender fell down. And at that point, the Tigers were never threatened the rest of the way. At one point, it got to 9. LSU immediately stretched it to 17. And they got it all the way up to 21 with just under 9 minutes to go in the game and salted it away rather routinely after that. So LSU deserves a lot of credit. And it goes back to Saturday where I said, look, it's just good that those guys got a win. Being a college athlete is a lot of long hours. And when you consistently are doing everything that's required of you and you're getting no positive results on the floor or on the field or on the court or wherever you may be, like, that's very difficult mentally. And for LSU to have that uplifting win on Saturday and then to come back on what was a really tight window because you had a Wednesday game, then you had a Saturday game that involved travel, and then you had to come back and play on Tuesday. That's as tight as it can get for you. And they did a great job. They were prepared. They were ready, and they came out and played a really, really good basketball game. LSU shot the ball great, especially from the three-point line. They made 6 of their 13 threes in the first half. Victorious Miller made a couple of those. Mike Williams made a couple of those. It wasn't all Cam Carter. Usually everything has to fall on Cam Carter, and he was very good last night, but not everything fell on Cam Carter. And LSU played a lot of guards for a lot of minutes in this game. You saw in the first half, Victorious Miller started and played 18 minutes. Curtis Givens started and played 60 minutes. Those are true freshmen that are out there playing. Jai Bailey played 13 minutes. Cam Carter played 15 minutes. Jordan Sears came off the bench. He and Mike Williams combined to play 11 minutes. And you had Corey Chess coming off the bench because he's dealing with some spasms. So you started 4 guards and Damian Collins, and you played a small lineup a lot of the game. It wasn't all of the game. You did have some time where Collins and Chess were on the floor. You had some time where Miller and Chess were on the floor. Miller and Collins. Like, you had some multiple forward looks, but a lot of the time, LSU was in a 4-guard lineup. And if you're going to play small, you're going to need to do some things right. You're going to need to assist the ball and take care of the ball. If you're going to have guards out there, they need to assist the ball and take care of the ball. Well, you had a 19 assists in the game to just 10 turnovers. That's taking care of the ball. That's assisting the ball. You need to shoot it well. LSU shot it at a 50% clip. They were 43% from three-point range. They made 6 of their 7 free throws in the game. So what guards do well, handle it, facilitate it, shoot it, LSU did very, very well. But you're going to have a trade-off, and it's going to be oftentimes difficult to win the backboard when you've got a bunch of guards out there. And you did lose the backboard. You lost it by 4. But because you did some other things well, you offset that on the glass. And one of them that you did really well was turn South Carolina over with some relentless ball pressure, getting your hands in passing lanes, showing some quickness. And LSU turned South Carolina over 18 times in this game, as we mentioned, to LSU's 10 turnovers. There was no bigger bugaboo for this LSU team throughout the duration of this losing streak and their bad play than the turnover bug. It was just awful. They were turning the ball over 18, 19, 20 times in a lot of these games. You go back over the last 4 games, 9 turnovers, 9 turnovers, 9 turnovers, 10 turnovers. They have cleaned that up. No, Oklahoma's not great. No, South Carolina's not great. Ole Miss is pretty good. And you've cleaned up the turnover side of things to an extent. It's not perfect, but you finally did something you had not been doing at all. We talked about all the time when LSU was turning the ball over so much. They weren't like giving up a bad shooting percentage, but they were getting so many fewer shots than their opponents, there's no way to win the game. Well, last night, LSU took 62 field goals, and South Carolina took 51. South Carolina shot more free throws than you, 15-7. But what did we talk about yesterday? South Carolina's top 20 in the country in free throws attempted per game. They're 19th in the country in getting to the foul line. They did so at about 23 a night. And LSU only allowed them to get there 15 times. If you would have told me going into the game that South Carolina's going to make 12 free throws, I said, well, it's over. Because South Carolina doesn't shoot the ball well. They're not a great rebounding team. They're not a good three-point shooting team. They rely on getting to the free throw line to create their offense and slowing the game down. And LSU scored 81 points. That's not a real slow game. And South Carolina only made 12 free throws. So I'm not here to absolve this team, this program, from all the wrongdoing and all the disappointing results. We know where it is. 3-10 is not acceptable. I get it. I'm not trying to blow smoke here. But they have gotten better over the last couple of games against worse competition. Trust me, LSU's played some subpar competition and played much worse than they did last night. And there's a little bit of a personnel adjustment that's being made because of some injuries and some guys that are battling things on the front court. But Mike Williams has stepped up. He had a season high last night. He made 3 of his 4 threes, scored 13 points. And then you look at the true freshmen in Victorious Miller, Curtis Givens, and Robert Miller, and those 3 guys were excellent. Miller had 12. Givens only had 3, but he got 3 rebounds, didn't turn the ball over in 26 minutes of action. So you combine all their stats together, and you're talking about a group that scored 22 points with 2 turnovers. That's solid work from some of your younger guys that weren't capable of that in early January. It's just a natural evolution of a season where guys grow up a little bit. And you don't, in this day and age, want to count on very many freshmen. You just don't. You can go get older players to come and play roles. And LSU does have some older players, but we've seen over the last 2 games, Jordan Sears has played a total of 24 minutes in the last 2 games. You're looking at a true freshman in Curtis Givens last night that played 26 last night. Givens played more last night than Sears has in 2 games combined. And he didn't shoot it great, just 1 of 4, missed 2 of his threes, but he made a big one. He didn't turn the ball over. So kudos to LSU. Hopefully they're feeling pretty good about themselves. They get today off. They don't have to travel. They don't have to travel on Friday either. And they can rest up today, recuperate, prepare on Thursday and Friday, even into Saturday for a 5 o'clock tip-off. And the number 2 team in the country is coming to town. And we know, I told you yesterday how I expect the last 4 games to go. It doesn't look very good. You're playing a bunch of ranked teams, playing a bunch of teams. Playing a bunch of teams that are
really good.
Really good. And, you know, some are at home, some are on the road. It doesn't matter. They're better than you. But last night, LSU had an opportunity against a team that's worse than them to take control of the game. They scored 41 points in the first half. They scored 40 points in the second half. They won the game by 14 points. They were never threatened. That's a solid effort by a group of guys that we've ragged on a little bit, criticized rightly since the beginning of January. They've continued to fight, continued to hustle, continued to scrap. They've improved some aspects of what they're doing offensively, and they played a good game last night. All that stuff can be true. 3-10 cannot be good enough. Last night can be a solid effort. Now you see if you can show up against one of the better teams in the league over the next 3 weeks. That's what's next. Matt McMahon said last night in his post-game press conference, hey, we're taking every game as a 1-game season. That's the only way to handle things at this point. The league's really good. We can't get caught up in losing streaks or winning streaks or where we can make this tournament or that. None of that is relevant. It's just 1 game. And the next game is on Saturday in the PMAC at 5 o'clock against one of the best teams in college basketball. It's really physical and can shoot threes. So we'll see how that goes. That's our Genesis opening drive, brought to you by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Let's talk some baseball. Kiki Riley was in the box yesterday. He'll be down at Nichols tonight. He covers the LSU baseball team. Will join us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level to the highest end, comes with a standard set of safety features because they're not going to make shortcuts when it comes to safety. Every single vehicle on the line got the IIHA safety award. Some of them were safety awards plus. That's important to them at Genesis, and it's important to you as a car buyer. Get on by Genesis of Baton Rouge. It's on Airline at Pico, across from Women's Hospital, and just see this line of vehicles. They've got your sedan all the way up to the SUV. It's a luxury model. Every bell and whistle that you could want with the safety to back it up. Get on by and see them. Genesis of Baton Rouge, Airline at Pico. You can check them out online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Only been there about 2 years now, so go on by and see them. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It is, of course, a What If Wednesday on this Wednesday. So if you're there in the Bayou Ford chat and you got some what ifs for us to get to in the next segment, you can bring them on. They can be LSU sports related. They can be not LSU sports related. Any way you want to slice it, you can do it. Just send me a tweet or get in the Bayou Ford chat. We'll do some What If Wednesday coming up here in the next 15 minutes. Excited to get SEC baseball power rankings to you in the second hour as well. Harold Perkins is going to play the star exclusively coming up this football season. We'll talk about what that means for LSU in 30 minutes from right now. But right now, let's go to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We'll chat with Kiki Riley from The Advocate, covers the LSU baseball beat. Kiki, how are you?
Great. How's it going?
Going well. Do you have enough clothing to wear to Thibodaux, Louisiana tonight?
Ooh, we'll see. Hopefully I didn't leave too many of my jackets and warm clothes back home in Massachusetts. So it's going to be tough.
Usually a couple of these a year. They're in the rearview mirror pretty quickly, but they can sneak up on you. I know Jay Johnson talked about the Louisiana Tech game from 3 years ago up in Ruston where LSU kicked it all over the place for 5 errors and 30-degree temperatures. It was nasty that day. We'll see what tonight holds. But I want to go backwards before we go forwards and talk about the weekend that was and, of course, yesterday against Southern. LSU's pitching's kind of stealing the headlines at this point with their strikeout-to-walk ratio. What's the most important aspect of all of that to you?
That they're throwing strikes, that they're getting ahead in the count, that they're forcing these opponents to swing at pitches. Often, granted, you can get a lot of these, I guess, guys to chase that stuff low in the dirt, especially when you get ahead with 2 strikes, but you still got to get ahead 1-2 or 0-2 in the count, and they're just doing that so consistently, and it really doesn't matter who the heck's on the mound, which is kind of remarkable. And I think for some of these guys, it's expected, and that they get ahead of the count, and that they're just known strike throwers. You think of Cade Anderson, you think of a guy like Zach Cowan, even Anthony Ianson. But there's just some guys who, heading into the year, we thought, all right, like what are they going to look like from a control standpoint? And I'm thinking of Grant Fontenot. I'm thinking of even Chase Shores, given some of the command issues that he had during the preseason, and Jacob Myers for an inning. That's another guy, and all those guys, pretty much through strikes. So again, 3 walks through 4 games, like that's unheard of. And I don't want to say it doesn't matter who you face, because some of that again is getting guys to chase out of the zone at a higher rate than normal. But I still think it's very notable, because I look back from the first 3 games last season, they had 22 walks through the first 3 games. This year they had 2. So that's clearly an upgrade, that's what stood out. That's what has stood out to me the most.
I know just from watching this program and just college baseball over a couple of decades, like it's not realistic to think you're going to have 15 pitchers you can go to that can just dominate.
No.
But do you think that the depth of this staff is going to manifest itself over the course of 56 games, and they are going to be able to count on more guys than normal?
Yeah, because I think a lot of it has to do with the strikes, given what we just talked about. I mean, last year walks was an issue for them, and for example, like in that third game that they played just to open the season, again, somewhat similar level of competition, they had 12 walks in that game, and that's a lot, especially when you're going up against a team that is probably going to be more prone to swing that stuff outside the zone. So, and that kind of goes to show that, like, when you got to the third game this time around, you obviously you got nowhere close to 12 walks. I don't think they might have had one walk in the third game, but I don't even know if they had a walk in that third game. So this year, so I think it just kind of goes to show you just obviously like the strikeouts and all that stuff is very, very impressive so far to start 45 strikeouts through that first series. Most they've had in a 3-game set against a single opponent since at least 1992, because 1992 is when they started counting those stats. So I think that kind of goes to show that they still have the strikeout stuff. They led the country in strikeouts last year. They can strike people out. It's just a matter of doing that while not putting guys on base through walks or erratic control or anything like that.
Was there a pitcher you saw over the weekend that either surprised you or that you'd like to see more of that maybe could have a bigger role than you had anticipated?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'm kind of interested in Grant Fontenot, and he's got a mid-90s fastball. The breaking ball is not too bad, and I think he has the stuff to potentially do something for this team. I don't really know what role that is in exactly, and I don't think he's going to be, necessarily at the top of the food chain when we get to SEC play. But like, could he pitch an inning here and there in a spot? Like, it wouldn't shock me. And I thought he flashed some interesting stuff at times during the preseason and the fall. And again, like, the stuff is good enough to pitch at this level. It's just a matter of the strikes have been kind of an issue for him, and I'm really curious to see, like, and it wasn't an issue for him this past weekend, so I'm kind of curious to see, like, what he looks like as the year goes along. That's the guy I'm just keeping in the back of my head.
Do you expect the 4 freshmen to contribute?
Absolutely, yeah. One, they kind of need Cooper Williams to contribute because he's a lefty and they don't have a ton of lefties. That's for one. Even if he's not lighting up the radar gun quite as much as those other guys are. I think Maverick Rizzi is the rawest out of all those guys, and out of all the guys who could, if things went sideways, he could drop out just because it has nothing to do with his ability. It's more to do with the fact that he just needs some more refinement, whether it's adding a third pitch, and he's a really big guy, a lot of moving pieces to his delivery. So I'm kind of curious to see what his control looks like throughout the year. I know it looks pretty good in that game, but against top competition that's more used to seeing 97 would think, what's that going to look like? But either way, I think he's going to contribute at least at the beginning of the year for them, because he's just too talented for them not to do that. And then with Casey Evans and William Schmidt, like, they're going to be big, important bullpen pieces for this team. I think that's been pretty clear. And Schmidt's refined to go along with the incredible stuff. And Casey Evans, he's seen a big velocity jump since becoming a pitcher only, because he arrived at campus here and in high school he was a two-way guy. So I think that's like really helped him with his velo. So I think that, yeah, like all 4 of those guys, I think at the very least they're going to start the year as major contributors out of the bullpen for this team.
Kiki Riley is our guest, LSU beat reporter for The Advocate. You can follow him online all season long for all your LSU coverage. He'll be with us on Wednesdays moving forward. Offensively, good to see Ethan Fry get that monkey off his back yesterday with his first home run. Y'all talked to him after the game. I'd imagine he was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was surprising that he hadn't hit a home run yet, because he's a bigger guy and he's hit the ball pretty hard when he's hit it a few times. He hasn't really elevated and celebrated, so to say, yet in his career. And he's kind of like a very under the radar, power. He could be a very under the radar sort of like source of power for them. I don't know if he's going to play enough to hit like 15 homers, but he can give him a little bit of boost in the power department just because of his size and his potential as a power hitter. And they need that, given just the lack of power that they have on this team, lack of proven power, I should say. And I'm just really curious to see how his role evolves throughout the year, because again, he doesn't have an obvious path to playing time. I guess other than facing lefties, facing left-hand pitching and being the DH in those scenarios, because it's gonna be hard to put him on the field because they have so many good defensive outfielders, and he's probably the weakest of the top 6. And then offensively, yes, he's a power bat, but it's just hard to find his bat in the lineup when if Ashton Larson's playing well and they want to play Jake Brown and Chris Stanfield, Derek Curiel are all playing well, and there's also Josh Pearson. So it's just a lot of names, So his role as the year goes along, I'm really curious to see how that sort of develops.
To that point, do you have any sense of what Jay is looking for from the Pearson, Larson, Brown, including Fry in that discussion in right field and at DH? Is he just trying to get him as many bats as he can right now and see where the dice fall?
Yeah, for all those guys, right? And it's just trying to find enough playing time for all of them to, when you get to SEC play or you get deep into SEC play and you're coming up to the SEC tournament, to where the 4 guys that you want to play, or maybe the 5 guys you want to play, depending on the matchup, And I think they're going to be I think they're probably going to be really patient with it, and I don't want to say experiment because he would never admit that he's experimenting. But I mean, they don't have the pressure to just figure this out immediately, And even in that first SEC week, they played Missouri, and they can play with things a little bit for that series, since that's probably going to be their easiest series of the year in conference play. So they got a few weeks to figure this thing out, and I'm glad I'm not him, because I wouldn't want to make that decision as to which 4 of the 6 you'd want to play. I think it's good for Ethan, the fact that he's become sort of like a rock for them against left-hand pitching, and at least he has a kind of a role built out for him already that he kind of started last season. But for the other guys, like for Ashton Larson especially, where he was their best hitter on Sunday, he hasn't even started the other 3 games.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, and after that game, you kind of leave that Sunday game being like, how are they going to keep this guy out of the lineup every single day if he's just going to do that and be such a consistent bat to ball hitter with some power potential? It's really they just got a lot of tough conversations to be had when it comes to figuring out that outfield over the next few weeks. But again, I think they have some more time to figure it out.
Any sense of how they might want to handle pitching tonight in Chili Thibodeau?
I'd be pretty surprised if Gavin Guidry isn't starting. He's the last of the stretched out guys who haven't pitched yet. And then after that, I think you could maybe see Chandler Dorsey, the South Florida transfer. I mean, Jay Newt only threw an inning. Jacob Myers will be available for this game. That was a note that Jay Johnson mentioned, that he was available to pitch against Southern, and you can see the revenge game tonight against Nichols. So those are just a couple guys I keep an eye out for. I'm curious to see how long they let Guidry go. Maybe that will depend on the score. So I think it would help LSU if they got to the run rule and ended this game in 7 innings, just so they didn't have to use too many guys, because I think you'd rather not have this game be too close and not have to use some of your better relievers, because I think in theory those guys could be available in this game. But ideally, I think you'd rather not use them.
Let's try to stay warm down there on the bayou this evening. We'll see you this weekend at the box, Kiki.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Kiki Riley with The Advocate, going to be with us every single Wednesday. If you're looking for your baseball coverage, he's got you covered. You can follow him on Twitter or find his work over at theadvocate.com. All right, it is What If Wednesday. I'm going to give you my thoughts on LSU baseball down at Nichols later on in hour number 2. Matthew Brune in 30 minutes, so tons to do here on a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, Safety can be an issue in the bathroom. We know that, especially as folks age. Falls can be really hazardous. You want to have that happen. You can mitigate against it. You can never prevent it completely, but you can mitigate against it. And David Vaughn and his team are happy to help with that. Non-slip floors, guardrails, handrails in slippery areas. You can do walk-in tubs that are convenient and safer. You can put benches in showers as well. David Vaughn and his team are happy to handle all of that for you. Start with that free consultation at onebathandclosets.com and look at some of the pictures of their great work. Look at the testimonials from some of their satisfied customers. It's all there at onebathandclosets.com. If you'd like to have some of that looked at in a bathroom for someone that you love, David Vaughn and his team are thrilled to do that for you. So go to onebathandclosets.com and get that free consultation today. Onebathandclosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
My initial SEC baseball power rankings coming up. Matthew Brune in 25 minutes talking some hoops. Got a preview LSU and Nichols tonight from the Bayou as well. Harold Perkins has a new position. We'll talk about that in about 10 minutes from right now. It is Wednesday, 1:30. That means time to play a little What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, What If?
All right, first one here. What if Brian Kelly let Nuss sling it in the second half against USC?
I mean, I don't remember them taking their foot off the gas in the second half. They couldn't run the ball. Emory had like 2 good carries, and that was all the running they were able to do against USC. So I just don't remember it being a situation where they sat on the football.
Yeah, I don't
so
either.
I think they probably still would have lost because they weren't as efficient as they needed to be running the ball and on offense. And then you had a situation where you couldn't stop Miller Moss and USC from throwing the ball late in the game. I kind of forgot about that one-handed catch that dude made, and apparently that was like the only play he made the entire year. And he climbs up and makes like a 30-yard catch on a one-handed grab. I think it was over Stamps. Like, that bums me out. Just don't make that play. You're not any good. Your team's not good. Just screw up and let's win the game. But no, LSU just loses season openers.
Yeah, Nussmeier threw it 39 times in that game, so I don't think they really
just
held
not
back.
good enough.
Yeah. All right, next one. What if LSU's campus was in New Orleans?
Whew. That's interesting. It would certainly be different. I kind of like it right where it is, to be quite honest. If it was in New Orleans, I'm trying to think about. I don't have a great answer for like massive sweeping changes other than the obvious stuff. Katrina would have been a lot worse for LSU than it was, but we're now 20 years beyond that. So I don't have a great comment. Well, I just picked Tulane up and like put it there, I guess.
Let's think about like where would they play? Would they play football in the Super? I mean, they could fill the Superdome. So I mean, they could play there
easily. It's a lot smaller than Tiger Stadium.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if they'd play there or if they would try. I don't know where.
I do not hate the idea of LSU playing every football game indoors.
That
does not irk me at all.
That would be pretty cool.
Now tailgating not very good.
No, it wouldn't.
It would change things a significant amount.
It would.
I'm good with where I actually love college towns. I love my time in Oxford and Athens and Auburn. Some of those like real true college towns in the SEC. Baton Rouge is not one of those, but that's okay. We've got better hotels and better restaurants and a little bit better places to live than a lot of those small towns. But yeah, I don't know. It's a decent question.
Yeah.
I just don't have a very good answer for you.
All right, next one. What if every company required their employees to have at least one business meeting out of the office every week in a social setting, i.e., required weekly golf meeting, top golf meeting at a sporting event, etc.? I think we know who wrote this one.
I did not write that one.
Wow.
That was from Twitter. Got sent to me. That's too much for most people.
Once a week is a lot.
That's a lot of time, like either just getting out of the office for like 2 hours and not answering phone calls or emails or getting stuff done. And for some people, a lot of time around coworkers. Like I've worked at 4 different places, and I can confidently say I would be very, very comfortable having lunch or a top golf meeting with my coworkers at every place I've ever worked. Like I've never thought, man, this is just a really crummy group that's around here. Some are better than others based on the time, but like I'm okay with it, the places I've worked, but that's too much. You want to tell me quarterly? Yeah, I'm all in for that. I think that's a good deal because people tend to let their hair down a little bit. Like our company Christmas party is a ton of fun. And and I've had multiple places where I've lived where the company Christmas party was a lot of fun. It's just a different setting, but once a week, way too much.
All right, next one here. We actually got some from my wife, and they're not.
Oh,
hopefully,
wow.
they're not going to be.
Not going to ruin the thoughts and dreams of every child in the greater Baton Rouge area?
I don't think they will.
Excellent.
First one, what if LSU and the Saints swapped coaches for a season?
So the LSU gets Kellen Moore and the Saints get Brian Kelly. I got to say, Brian Kelly going ballistic on the sideline against one of those pros is not going to go so hot.
Probably not.
Kellen Moore coaching LSU, I think he'd do a pretty good job calling plays. I don't know about Kellen the recruiter.
Yeah, I think he could probably do it. I mean, he's pretty young. Like he knows he went through college. He went through recruiting.
But we talked about, like he's an X's and O's dude.
He is.
Like he's in the playbook, and that's not necessarily where the recruiting bread is buttered. So interesting. I think that there wouldn't be some sort of massive deal now. You take Sean Payton out of there and have him go recruit. I don't think that's what he wants to do at all back in that time. You got Ed Ogeron coaching the Saints. I think that'd be a little bit of an interesting deal. But these two guys, It wouldn't. They're suited where they are.
I would say that.
Brian Kelly needs to be the authoritarian, and Kellen Moore needs to go call plays.
All right, next one here. What if aliens came to Earth? What human are you sending as the ambassador?
Oh, man. What human am I sending as the ambassador to the aliens? Well, Victor Wembanyama might fit in.
Yeah,
in terms of size and just general ability. He's much more like an alien than a human.
Well, that's true, but we also don't know what these aliens look like. They may be small. They may not be giant. Who knows?
I'm just trying to send somebody that's got some alien-esque characteristics to kind of bridge
I
the
guess
gap,
so.
as it were.
Yeah, I was thinking of somebody who's probably just going to be very diplomatic. I don't know.
You got anybody in mind? You want to send Theo Vaughn up there, just kind of chill with the aliens?
Well, he would probably make them laugh if they understand laughter and things like. If they actually have the ability to laugh, then he would probably be able to do that.
I don't think anyone is at any point in the near future going to send me or have me making any diplomatic decisions.
I don't think so.
That's really out of my scope of work.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm more into midweek baseball games.
Yeah. All right, next one here. What if you got randomly sent to a different city in the U.S.? Where could you not survive? Gotta be somewhere north, I guess, right?
Yeah, you send me to,
maybe like Minneapolis or something?
Yeah, Minneapolis or Milwaukee. Like, we're going to have some real
Milwaukee's
issues.
going to be a serious problem.
Send
but you're
me
at
to,
least close to Chicago and Milwaukee.
Yeah, you send me to, rural Iowa in, early January. I'm going to have some significant issues.
Yeah.
The cold weather is what really comes to mind initially.
A real problem, yeah.
I'd have issues trying to survive. Literally, if you sent me up to rural Wyoming where it's snow all the time and I got to figure out how to drive through that and shovel stuff around, we're going to have real problems trying to get places. I don't even know where the grocery store is in these mountain towns. We got that. There'd be real problems.
I would not.
I got a better chance maneuvering a language barrier than I do dealing with the snow.
Yeah. All right, next one here. What if LSU baseball played an international tournament early on in the season, like the Puerto Rico tournament this past weekend?
I think that'd be great for the players. Obviously not great for the folks who buy season tickets at the box who want to go do that. And Frisco's easier for LSU fans to get to than Puerto Rico. But guess what? They're going to play tonight and it's going to be 20-something degrees, 30-something degrees.
Probably a lot better weather
Puerto
in Puerto
Rico
Rico right
better
now.
than that. So it has its perks.
Yeah.
I'm all for these young student athletes getting to travel the world. I love that the basketball teams go abroad one summer every 4 years to go do stuff. That's a cool opportunity as a young person that you have when you don't have family and job and all that kind of stuff to deal with. You can go and do something really fun that you can talk about for the rest of your life. I'm all for that kind of stuff.
All right, next one here. What if the PGA Tour and LIV come to an agreement soon? Will Hunt be excited about golf again?
I'm excited to watch the PGA Tour every week. I just understand that it's watered down, and if they did come to agreement, I'd be ecstatic. I just don't see it happening imminently because there's too much money involved and there's too many ego involved, and LIV has ripped golf in half, and they have no I can't even get into it. It's disgusting is what it is. So we'll just leave it at that.
All right, next one. What if Bregman doesn't muff the ground ball against UCLA?
It's tough. That team was absolutely good enough to win it, and the fact that they lost that, they could play that game against UCLA with Nola on the mound 9 more times, they would win at least 8 of them because UCLA was never going to score on him.
Yep.
And they didn't. Bregman kicked a ground ball. And LSU would eventually, LSU's offense was better. It was a lot better than UCLA's. That team should have won it. They were going to get in the second round to get into the driver's seat. They were going to face NC State with no Carlos Rodon because he had pitched against North Carolina. That team was good enough to win the whole thing. And it's just tough because they flew out to the track 5 times. Ibarra and Katz and all those guys. It's a definite what if that they should have won it because that year, it's 2013. 3 teams separated themselves. Vanderbilt, who didn't make Omaha, North Carolina, who was already in the loser's bracket, and LSU. And once you had won that first game, you were going to get back around to NOLA. Nobody could beat NOLA, so it was what it was. But the park got the best of them that day.
All right, last one here. What if I was a dad?
You're not counting chickens here, are you?
Maybe.
Well, that would be very good if you were a father of a human. Got anything you want to say?
Yeah, it's it is gonna. It's not a what if actually. It is a true thing.
I love to hear that
real.
very, very much. That's wonderful news. Congrats to the Becks who will welcome a child. I'll have 2 by that point, so I'll be a wealth of knowledge and information.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like ask you. Anytime I have a question, I'm just gonna go to you, Hunt, because I
you
figure
believe I have the answers.
I think you're gonna be the foremost authority on this.
Myers is still thriving,
he is.
so here we are.
That's
I
true.
haven't screwed it up too bad yet. Congrats to the Becks.
Thank you.
Let's go to break.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Need service now? Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you same-day appointments for service, and we offer pickup and delivery of your vehicle from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. If you need sales and service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wildin'.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Parish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs.
Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us here. Got a lot to do in hour number 2. Matthew Brune in 12 minutes talking LSU basketball. Got to get to my SEC baseball power rankings as well, but we'll finish the hour with a little LSU football. Julie Boudin over of On 3 did a great job of catching up with LSU defensive coordinator Blake Baker. Had an exclusive interview there for the Bengal Tiger, and he confirmed to her that Harold Perkins would play the star this year in LSU's defense. That's the role that Major Burns occupied much of this year, and this is the last stop here for Harold Perkins and the last effort for LSU to truly unlock a really dynamic and talented defensive player. I think everyone since that breakout his freshman year has expected absolute dominance from Harold Perkins. And for good reason. You're talking about a 5-star recruit who in the last 7 games of 2022, so only 7 games, that's about half a season, he had 11 tackles for loss and 6 sacks over 7 games. You extrapolate that out for a year, you're talking about 11, 12 sacks, 20-plus tackles for loss. Like, that's first-team All-American monster productions type stuff. And since that first year, Perkins has totaled 5.5 sacks and 15 tackles for loss over a season and a half. Now, we understand the numbers are skewed a little bit because he missed the last 7-8 games of LSU's season this past season with an ACL tear. But anyone would suggest that Perkins hasn't been as impactful moving forward after that 7-game sample his freshman season. So they've played him at nickel. They've played him at defensive end. They've played him at inside linebacker. They've moved him all over the place. And they haven't found the best way to use him. And part of it is using 2 different coordinators. Part of it is not having great personnel around him. Part of it is Harold learning a new spot. Like, there are a lot of factors at play here. But what cannot be argued is that this is the last chance. And I think the star makes a ton of sense for Harold Perkins. Let's take Major Burns' role in last year's defense and put numbers to it. He played 241 snaps at slot corner, 213 in the box around the line of scrimmage, and then 49 on the defensive line. That, to me, is a blend of snaps that Harold Perkins can play. Maybe a few more in the box than slot corner, not as many on the defensive line, but that's reasonable to say that, 40% at slot corner, 40% in the box, 10%, 15%, 20% on the defensive line. That's doable. You look at what Burns was asked to do. He played almost 300 snaps in coverage. He played 250 snaps against the run, and then he rushed the passer 33 times. Now, that blend is going to have to shift because Perkins has got to rush more than he is in coverage. I shouldn't say that. Not more. You got to make it closer. It can't be 292 to 33. You got to rush Perkins more than you rushed Burns. And that's doable. But you got to get into those situations. You got to get a lead. You got to get teams into third downs. Now, when I say you got to put him in Perkins in coverage a little bit, and some people go, no, don't put him in coverage. Let him rush. He's actually pretty good in coverage. 2 years ago, as a sophomore, he graded out 81.1 in his coverage snaps by Pro Football Focus. That's excellent. In the 80s is excellent. Over 291 snaps, which is not a small sample size, like, he did a good job in coverage. He can do that. And then you've got to turn him loose when it's time to turn him loose. What you really don't want to see is him just playing right in the middle of the field, catching guards, catching tackles, and not being able to roam free. You need to use his athleticism. And his athleticism is best used in space, and the space is covering tight ends, covering short routes out of the slot, then playing on the edge and getting up the field in pass rush. All of these things you can do at the star position. His skill set is a hybrid. He's 6'1", 225, which means he's significantly bigger than corners and significantly smaller than rush ends. He's, relatively speaking, the same size as speedy outside linebackers, but he's more dynamic than them. He can do things in space they can't do. So if you've got a player that's got a hybrid size and skill set, put him in a hybrid position that allows him to do different things. The star is that. He's not going to play it just like Major Burns. He's not going to play it just like Juwan Johnson would have, and that was the backup. But he's got the ability to do the things that are asked of that position. It's just then a matter of teaching him that and then calling it properly so that he's covering when he needs to cover, he's affecting the game in the backfield when he needs to affect the game in the backfield, and he's changing the dynamics of the offense with his playmaking ability. The best thing LSU can do for Harold Perkins to make him the best player he can be is for the rest of the defense to step up and get the other teams into third downs and for the team as a whole to step up and create a situation in the fourth quarter where LSU's leading, teams have to pass. You can line Perkins up on the line of scrimmage and turn him loose. That's what LSU's got to do to make Harold Perkins the best he can be. I don't think we've seen the best Harold Perkins can be. And this is no guarantee of that as you move into 2025, but it makes the most sense. Hat tip to Julie Boudin for getting that interview over there at the Bengal Tiger on 3. I've got a column up on this entire thing at louisianasports.net right now that you can go ahead and read, but I think this makes all the sense in the world for Harold Perkins. If you missed any of the first hour of the show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can always find us. Hour 2 is going to be a busy one. Matthew Brune's coming back after Sports Center. We got our SEC baseball power rankings coming as well. National headlines, and then maybe some news on the other side of this. We'll talk to Matthew Brune next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Need service now? Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you same-day appointments for service, and we offer pickup and delivery of your vehicle from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. If you need sales and service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages, and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The lone spotlight in the NBA tonight on Los Angeles, where the Lakers will welcome the Hornets as the second half of the season begins tonight. Lakers don't expect Luka Doncic to have a minutes restriction going forward and will lean on him heavily in the latter half of this season. No NBA players under more pressure than Luka, believes ESPN NBA analyst Alan Hahn.
We're all going to be watching, and every move he makes, every time they lose a game, it's not LeBron's fault. It's going to be Luka's fault. He has to carry that weight. Can he? Can he deal with it? It's going to be so much to watch with him and this team for the rest of the season that he is going to have to prove early on that the Mavs made a mistake and the Lakers are better for it.
Alan Hahn, Lakers currently 5th in the West. Team USA and Boston Bruins top defenseman Charlie McAvoy remains hospitalized with an infection in his right shoulder, as well as a significant injury to his AC joint. His status for the NHL season unclear. McAvoy hurt last week in the Four Nations face-off. Eagles hired passing game coordinator Kevin Patullo as their offensive coordinator. He'll be Jalen Hurts' 4th OC in Philadelphia.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Thursday, I'll tell you which NFL players would benefit from being cut and finding a new home. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekdays at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got some breaking news here from the folks over at LSU. LSU and Nichols tonight from Thibodeau will be postponed. It's just too cold to go play baseball. And I think that the cooler heads prevailed, to use a bad pun there, and that everybody realized it's not in the best interest to go down there and play baseball in the mid-30s, so LSU and Nichols will do it another time. So if you're down there on the bayou or headed down to Thibodeau to watch some baseball this evening, no more plans for that. We'll see what the rescheduled date is. Should be sometime soon. So LSU will take today and tomorrow off, and they'll get ready for a Friday 3-game set starting Friday with Omaha at the Box. We're talking basketball to start hour number 2 here. Matthew Brune of the Bengal Tiger, part of the team over there on 3. Good enough to give us some time each and every Wednesday. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing well. Like you said, just trying to stay warm.
Yeah, I was talking to Kiki Riley from The Advocate earlier today. I was like, you got enough warm clothes to get on Thibodeau? And he was a little concerned about it. Won't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about it in the PMAC either. And LSU has won a couple of games in a row. We haven't spoken since Saturday's kind of miracle that LSU pulled out up in Norman. What was your reaction watching that in real time?
Oh, it was incredible. I think, first of all, Cam Carter's excellent. I hope he gets on one of the all-conference teams. Obviously, I don't think it would be the first team, but second team potentially. I just think he's been so good this year. He's been one of my favorite players to cover in my time at LSU, on the court, off the court. I was really happy for him to come through in those moments for them. And that's one, they lost to Ole Miss in painful fashion in a collapse. And then you go on the road, you find a way to steal one from Oklahoma. So, sports are like that, right? You win one you shouldn't win, you lose one you shouldn't lose, and it comes out in the wash.
Do you think Cam Carter's got a good chance to make second team? I'm fully with you. He should, because he's carried this team every single game out. But there's a lot of really good players in this league.
Yeah, I believe it's 8 per team, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
I believe it's 8 per team, so it'd be 16. I agree there's so many players that could be on those lists, especially in this conference. It'll be tough. I think they'll probably need to win one or two more to get there, but he's just been the saving grace for this team. The inconsistencies of everybody else, we could talk about them changing a bunch of different lineups, that McMahon experimenting and trying to find what works. Cam Carter's been the absolute pillar for this team to lean on game in, game out, even when nothing else is working. So defenses have been denying him. They've been trapping him, get the ball out of his hands, and force others to beat him, and he's still been able to be effective. So I do want to give him his flowers this year for what he's done.
If you take away them running out the clock at the end of regulation last night, you're talking about 4 straight games with 9 turnovers for LSU after it was such a massive issue for really the 6 weeks of conference play and going back into December. What has changed by your eye that LSU has allowed LSU to take care of the basketball better?
Yeah, I think they've kind of taken some pressure off of the point guard situation. We've talked about it before. The point guard situation is not where it needs to be, whether it's Jordan Sears or whether it's Curtis Givens. They're just not playing. They're not at a high enough level to handle the pressure and to handle the reads that you have to make as a SEC point guard. I think they've done a good job taking some of that pressure off them and changing their offense a little bit to get into different sets and to work it in different ways to where it's not just as many ball screens and stuff. So that's helped. And also I think they've shot the ball better. I don't have the last 4 game splits in front of me, but especially Oklahoma and South Carolina, when you're making shots in that way, you're able to make easier passes, easier reads. Even against Ole Miss, they shot 8 of 24 from 3. So I think the willingness to shoot threes has spaced teams out and given them a little bit easier reads, and then they've changed their offense a little bit.
Corey Chess got the back spasms. He didn't start last night. Damian Collins got a shoulder issue. He's given you what he can, but they've played smaller because they've kind of had to with the injuries. What do you like about that lineup that's got 4 guards around 1 post?
Yeah, I think the question I had was, the front court was such a strength, and it was a strength last night in, the shutting down Colin Murray Boyles to a degree and Nick Pringle. They had a lot of blocks and whatnot. But when you can go to that smaller lineup, especially if Jai Bailey's making threes, which I think over the last 5 or 6 games, he's like 7 of 13 from 3 or something. So he's making shots, and that gives you, like I said, the spacing that you need offensively to be effective. I wasn't sure, 2 weeks ago if this team, if you asked me how much this team would score in a given game, if they would break 67 points or something like that. Now they've scored 80 in back-to-back games. I think the shooting is a big part of that, and I think the versatility of Jai Bailey and the versatility that McMahon has given with these lineups has really helped them.
The freshmen statistically were pretty good last night. They didn't turn it over a lot. They made some shots. That's, of course, Curtis Givens, Victorious Miller, and Robert Miller. How have you seen those guys grow up from Christmas to now?
I think the biggest thing for me last night, and I asked McMahon about this after the game, I was really, really impressed with how they defended against South Carolina. I thought Victorious Miller especially was into the ball handlers, was really active. And then Rob Miller had 1 or 2 blocks. He's extremely tall and long. So you get the defensive side of the ball going, and I think the game has just slowed down for them in such a big way. It's relying on freshmen in any sport, but, basketball in this conference especially is just deer in the headlights for the first half of the year. And now I think over the last 5-6 games, we've seen Robert Miller and Victorious and Curtis really slow the game down and start to play better on both ends.
All right, now they turn the page from this quote-unquote softer part of the SEC schedule to a 5-game gauntlet that's anything but. So do you give them any chance over the next 5 games to be competitive, to pull one off here or there? Have they played better by your estimation, or has it just been the schedule getting a little easier?
Yeah, I think they've played better for the most part. If we even if we go back before this 6-game stretch, we can go back to the Alabama and Auburn games, which were promising. A&M game was promising. So it's really that Texas game and the Georgia games, which were the alarming ones. Everything else, I think, the past month has been pretty on par with what you would expect from talent and the competition and stuff. But like you said, Florida and Tennessee at home, the next 2. I know home court advantage is a big thing in college basketball, but that is a massive, massive task. and then you kind of go from there with Mississippi State, Kentucky, and A&M. It wouldn't shock me if they got one of these 5. I think it's possible, but I don't know what if I'm setting a line at 0.5, I don't know where I'd set the odds at.
What do you like about Florida? They've been really impressive, and this is Todd Golden's 3rd year.
I like a lot about Florida. They're really, really good. That Auburn game was outstanding. They basically blew out Auburn on the road. I know it was only a 9-point win technically, but they really controlled it. Walter Clayton's incredible. The shooting, the handling, he's an NBA prospect to me. And then you get to Alex Condon on the inside, who I think is a real problem. I haven't seen their injury report and who's all healthy for them recently, but Will Richard is another scorer for them. They just come at you in so many different ways. Another elite offense in the SEC. They play fast, and they are also really tall with Condon and some of those other guys. So I think it's a really tough matchup for LSU, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see you in the PMAC on Saturday. Thanks, Matthew.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Hunt.
Matthew Brune, part of the Bengal Tiger team over there on 3. He's got your team coverage. They got you covered on recruiting as well. Great staff over there. Great team at the Bengal Tiger on 3, and they're a big help to us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. As I mentioned at the top of the segment there, LSU and Nichols have been postponed for this evening down in Thibodeau. Just too cold to go down there and play baseball, so they'll find another date. I had this next segment set aside to talk about LSU and Nichols. Instead, there's some pretty sizable news out of the National Football League that does impact the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic to work with here in Baton Rouge. If you're a business owner or you're risk management, you handle the insurance program for a business here locally, and you're just looking at your insurance costs and you're looking at the coverages and you're going, I'm just not sure this is sustainable. I understand that happens all the time. Have you considered an alternative insurance solution? Have you looked at a captive? Has your broker come to you and suggested the possibility of a captive? If you have no idea what I'm talking about, might be time to explore that. And Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group are happy to do that. Now, you've got to be a company that has got risk management in place. You've got to be a company that spends a substantial amount on your insurance. You've got to qualify to get into a captive. But you've also got to have a broker that helps you along the way. And the Highland Insurance Group is happy to do that. Give them a call or check them out online, HighlandIG.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge. All your commercial insurance needs. They also do group and employee benefits as well. It's a one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, we got 1 week of SEC baseball in the books. So clearly, I have now seen enough to have an opinion on every team in the Southeastern Conference. I'll give that to you in the next segment with our initial SEC baseball power rankings. The way I did it, to be quite candid with you, is I took the teams and I put them into 3 buckets. Teams I thought were really good, teams I was like, okay, we'll see, and teams I don't think are good. I started that way, and then I just kind of put some numbers next to them and gave a little note here and there. We'll do that in the next segment. We'll see where LSU shakes out in my first SEC baseball power rankings. The NFL informed the organizations in the league today that the 2025 salary cap is going to be roughly $277 to $281 million, somewhere essentially around $280 million for 2025. That is an increase of somewhere in the neighborhood of $24 million year over year, and it's also larger than general managers were allotting for the coming season. And that's great for everybody, right? That's great for the teams. They've got more flexibility. It's great for the players. They're going to be allowed to be paid a little bit more. Awesome across the board. And if you're looking at this and you're a New Orleans Saints fan, you're going, well, this is awesome. Now we got more cap room to use. And that's not wrong. That's absolutely not wrong. But when I saw that, here's immediately what came to my mind. Because we know now that the Saints have picked their head coach, you've got some variability as far as coordinators and your staff goes. And then you've absolutely got to get after this roster building. And it's got to start with the combine into the draft. The draft's got to be huge. You got to be smart in free agency. And you've got to begin to retool this roster that has aged out of its price range. And you understand the Saints are perpetually in a terrible situation when it comes to the salary cap and are constantly having to do all kinds of gymnastics to get under it while not necessarily spending a lot in the free agent market. And when you look at this and go, oh, well, you're getting a $25 million bump in the salary cap, like that's great for the Saints. And it is. But here's the way I assess it. I'll equate it to a swimming pool, okay? You got a team like Washington that's sitting there with $80 million of cap space. They're standing in the shallow end, essentially with all the freedom to move that they could possibly want. And the fact that this bump just kind of drains some more water out of the pool, maybe they can do high knees and can jump out of the pool with no help because there's less water in the pool. They're far from drowning. They got all the flexibility they could want. New Orleans is down in the deep end, strapped to an anchor, okay? You're just trying to get up for air when it comes to the salary cap. This lets a little water out of that pool, and you can get up for air a little bit more easily. But you're not out of the pool, okay? You're not out of trouble. You're still very much buried with, let's call it, based on what this salary cap situation will be in 2025, let's call it $35 million over the cap, okay? So that's not exactly suntanning up out of the pool completely. That's still very much in the pool. But you got a little bit of relief here. And when I see the relief, I don't immediately think to myself, oh, who can the Saints go sign to help the 2025 roster? I think, okay, less gymnastics have to be done to, in fact, come up for air. And the magic word that we always hear with New Orleans is restructure. Less restructures, okay? You're talking about a salary cap that will have increased $50 million over 2 years. The NFL is trying to help the Saints get out of the swimming pool. But it's got to be done the right way. So what I don't need the Saints to do is go ahead and restructure a bunch of these deals, Derek Carr's included, to get way under the salary cap and then go sign new players to expensive deals. What I need is for this pressure release that's been unexpected, as being reported by all these folks that cover the NFL, to allow the Saints to go, okay, we got a little bit more room than we thought. We don't need to restructure and kick the can a little bit further down the road and put more years on the deals and sprinkle money over here. No, you don't need to do that. You need to let these aging guys come off the books and realize that you're still a year away from really making moves. But as the cap continues to go up and the Saints roster continues to have contracts meet their finish line, you're getting close. Like, this is as close as the Saints have been to a reasonable salary cap situation in years. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the league is helping you by bumping up that limit, that cap. But don't take advantage of that today. Just sit tight. And the next question that has to be answered is, do you have the confidence that the Saints will, in fact, do it this way? I'll tell you, I'm starting to really believe that things have changed. They have only made one move financially over the last 12 months that I have looked at and gone, no. Since they restructured Carr, that really added on another year that you were wedded to him. And that was in the Allen era where they were still thinking they could win and they're still being aggressive and doing everything they can do to make sure they're going to be competitive the next year. Since they did that, they haven't really stepped out of bounds. I would not have made the Kamara deal. I've made that clear. I don't think it's crippling to the franchise. He's still playing pretty well. His attitude's phenomenal. He's not the issue. So I still wouldn't have done it, but it's not crippling. That's the only sidestep they've made. They're not adding on big name free agents at big deals for big money in multiple years. They haven't done anything else with Derek Carr. They haven't made huge draft moves to ditch 3 picks and move up 2 rounds. They've been relatively in step with what most of us think they should be doing. Now, have they traded back in the draft? No. Have they cut Derek Carr? No. Did they kick Alvin Kamara to the curb? No. Are they doing things completely opposite that they've been doing? No. But at least they're not continuing down this path. And so you're trying to take this little shovel and get out and get out and get out and get out as much as you can. And the NFL is helping. And they're going to help again in 2026. And once some of these contracts come off the books, we'll see likely Taysom Hill coming, likely Derek Carr not on the books next year as far as the number that he's at right now. We'll see what the future holds with Cam Jordan. I think Tyrann Mathieu wants to play a couple more years. Ramchick's about to officially retired. It's starting to happen. And it's frustrating to an extent as a fan not to be able to accelerate things. It's just not the way it works. And you knew this day was coming for a decade when you were doing business the way that you were doing business. But the point that I'm trying to make here is it just doesn't appear to me that they're just doing business the way they've always done business. I think they're changing a little bit. I don't know how much of that is Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lauscha and Kai Harley. I don't know how much of that is going to be Kellen Moore. that's a little bit more than I'm privy to from the outside just commenting. But I've got the actual transactions that they're making. I've got the dollar figures that are attached to all these players and what the salary cap's going to be from the NFL. And if you just look at the last 12 months as a snapshot and you don't add the 3 years behind that, and you just look at what they've done in the immediate past, it feels like there's a move at foot. And I think that's a good thing. It's just not going to be quick. You haven't heard Mickey Loomis say this. You haven't heard Kellen Moore go on the record with this. That's not concrete in terms of, we're rerouting. I've heard baseball teams say this. We've heard NBA teams say this. We've watched NFL teams do this. It feels like the Saints are in the middle of doing that. We'll know by the end of veteran free agency in the NFL draft this year if that's the case. If the Saints go out and restructure Carr and go sign a veteran wide receiver for more than they have money for, and then trade 3 of their draft picks to move up 14 spots in the second round, well, we'll know they're the same old Saints. But they haven't done that. So I'm going to try to sit back and give them some credit right now for shifting course. And the NFL is helping with a sizable bump in the salary cap that we could not have known was coming. That's good news. It's just going to take a little bit of time. As Saints news continues to happen in terms of position coaches, as it just continues to happen in terms of coordinators, Ross Jackson's got you covered at LouisianaSports.net. We certainly do as well here on 104.5 ESPN. Hunt on Saints, give you all your Saints content each and every day up on YouTube. You can also find that in podcast form wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt on Saints all year round. We appreciate y'all for searching that out. Breaking news of the last 25 minutes, LSU and Nichols will not play their scheduled game this evening down the bayou in Thibodaux. Too chilly for baseball. So if you had plans to go to that or were looking forward to watching this evening, no baseball tonight. And I think it's the right move because I think that it's just not smart to go out there and play in mid-30s temperatures at this time in the calendar. So they'll do it another time between LSU and Nichols. It will not be tonight. We got to take a time out. When we come back, we will talk SEC baseball power rankings. Where are the Tigers? That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every Genesis of Baton Rouge comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. Just not going to beat that in the industry. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? 3 years of complimentary maintenance. I said this the other day. My kid's 3 years. I can promise you that's a long time. Feels like a long time since he showed up. 3 years of complimentary maintenance. What a deal from the folks at Genesis Baton Rouge. And it's complimentary and it's valet. So they'll come to you. They'll pick up your vehicle. They'll take it to the shop. They'll get your work done. They'll bring it back to you. You don't lift a finger. It's the convenience of being a Genesis driver. If you have not gotten behind the wheel of a Genesis, not familiar with the line of vehicles at Genesis, that's not surprising. They haven't been around as long as a lot of the luxury car brands. But they're here now. They're on airline at PQ. Get on by and see them. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. And see the difference for yourself. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, 30 minutes to go here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Officially working towards the weekend. Have that work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. Beck, you're unhappy with me. You brought that to my attention.
Yeah.
We did power rankings for football from the first week of September the way through Christmas.
Indeed.
And baseball started up, and we're doing power rankings, and I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, well, the issue is, Hunt, we never did a single power ranking for SEC men's basketball, which is pretty shocking considering you are a pretty big basketball guy.
I love basketball. I do not like ranking LSU 15th or 16th.
I understand
didn't really
that.
want to go through the exercise.
I get it, but at the same time, still an important. Do
you think the people want to hear about LSU's 15th or 16th ranked SEC basketball team?
I mean, I think the real problem is that people want to hear where you will be ranking the Vanderbilt Commodores because they have been on an absolute tear in all sports.
All sports, he says.
Yes, all sports.
Would you call their football season an absolute tear?
I would call it a very, very successful season compared to what they have normally put on the field in the last 5 years.
I think they stink.
Okay. Fair enough.
They didn't stink. They were fine. They weren't very good, but they were scrappy, and they turned into a pumpkin and didn't really win many games late. But I didn't really feel like doing basketball power rankings. I feel like doing baseball power rankings.
Of course.
So let's do them now.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings.
Texas A&M!
I do have more questions about A&M than most. I think Ryan Prager's good. I don't think he's dominant. He's their ace. Second-round pick. I don't think Justin Lampkin's great. He's kind of their number 2. They got guys that can hit. Laviolette's really good. Grahovec's really good. Schott's really good. I mean, they got a lot of guys that can swing the bat. So I'm going to go with A&M number 1. we'll see how long they stick there, but I've got to give them the benefit of the doubt right now.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee's got a lot of talent. Their Friday night guy right now is Liam Doyle, who was at Ole Miss last year, and his numbers weren't very good, but he's got big stuff. So he was really good on Friday. Dean Curley and Dalton Vargo are kind of the new guys to take over from Christian Moore and Blake Burke. I think they're uber talented. I just think they've got a lot of mojo and a lot of moxie on Rocky Top. I'm not a big Tony Vitello fan in terms of the dude, but his teams are good, so we'll go ahead and leave them at number 2.
The LSU Tigers.
I got LSU at 3 here. There's a lot of potential, but a lot of it right now is just depth that I got to wait and see if it's high-end stuff. And so I feel good about LSU's chances, feel good about the team. I think they're in the top quarter of the SEC. I'm not willing to put them right there at the top just yet.
The Florida Gators.
I feel like some folks are a little down on Florida. Liam Peterson does have really good stuff. He was one of the only 3 true freshmen in the SEC. It was a regular weekend starter last year. He's kind of blossomed into a dude now. He's going to front their rotation. Ty Evans has been a thorn in LSU's side for 2 years. Colby Shelton is a good left-handed hitter with some power. The transfer from Alabama 2 years ago. Luke Heyman is still there as a catcher. They've got a lot of talent. Kevin O'Sullivan is always in Omaha. They were terrible last year and they were in Omaha, so I'll go ahead and put them at number 4.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
The names that you need to know for Arkansas are Gabe Gackle and Zach Root. That's their 1-2 punch. Arkansas's always got dudes on the mound. Gabe Gackle might be the best pitcher in the SEC. He was really good on Friday. Zach Root is a transfer from ECU that I think LSU really wanted. Ended up in Fayetteville, so that's a good 1-2 punch for them. Wahiba Aloy is a really good hitter at shortstop. Looks like he's going to take a stride from where he was last year. Arkansas's bats are what's going to be the issue, and they weren't great in a freezing cold Baum Stadium over the past weekend. It may take them a while to warm up, but they're going to pitch it so good that they're always going to be good. That's the top 5 in the league, and those are the 5 that I put into a group of good teams that I really believe in right now. I'll go down a tier for the next group.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
I got State here at 6. They might not be this good. Hunter Hines is hot and cold, but he can be one of the best power hitters in the SEC when he's going. I thought they looked pretty good on the mound over the weekend. We'll see. I'm not sold completely on this, but again, this is a group that's to be determined that I could really jumble up in the middle of the conference, so I got State at 6.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
No Charlie Condon. He was pretty good last year for Wes Johnson, but Wes Johnson went out in the transfer portal and said, we need pitchers, and he got a bunch of dudes that throw really hard. So Georgia, who could not pitch at all last year, should be able to pitch it this year. I'm kind of banking on a lot of transfers here, but I think Georgia's pretty good. I got them at 7.
The Texas Longhorns.
Texas comes in at number 8. This is the opposite. They're going to hit like crazy. Jim Schlossnagle is a really good pitching coach. He doesn't necessarily have the talent that he would like. They got a big start and a big win over Ole Miss on Saturday in that tournament in Globe Life, but they're going to have to bring a pitching staff along a little bit. I trust Schlossnagle to do that. Max Wiener's a good pitching coach as well, but they got offense for days. I think the Horns are going to hit. I got them in the middle of the pack at 8.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
J.D. Thompson, the new ace at Vanderbilt. They won 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Incidentally, lost to Nebraska, who LSU will see next weekend. Vanderbilt's not what they were in Corbin's prime. They don't have that kind of talent level. I think NIL has caught up to them there, where they had some real scholarship advantages. Corbin's still a good coach. They're still going to have arms. They're going to have some guys that can hit as well. I'll take Vanderbilt at 9.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
They may have the best player in the conference. If you don't know who Justin LeBron is, you should. He's a sophomore shortstop who could be the first pick in next year's draft. He's really, really talented. Outside of that, I'm not sure. They could be a lot worse, but LeBron's awesome, so I'll put them at number 10 here. And now we'll get to the group of teams that I don't expect to be very good. We'll see how this goes.
The Auburn Tigers.
Look, they're going to hit a little bit. Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray are really good hitters, but I don't trust their SEC cast-offs in the weekend rotation. Cade Fisher, left-hander, transfer from Florida, did not have a good year last year. Sam Dutton, we know very well, starting on Saturdays. I don't think he's a Saturday starter in the SEC. I trust Bush Thompson. He's a good coach. They weren't very good last year. I just don't know if they're going to be very good this year either.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Ole Miss at number 12. If Hunter Elliott's really good, that makes them better, but I'm a little concerned when you got a weekend rotation of 3 seniors. That's Hunter Elliott, Mason Nichols, and Riley Maddox. That means they haven't moved on to pro baseball. They're not immense talents. Luke Hill had a really good weekend. He's a Baton Rouge guy, going to play second base for him. They got a true freshman shortstop they think is going to be really good. But their best 2 players from last year played for Tennessee, and their pitching staff wasn't good enough to get drafted. So I don't know that I love Ole Miss's team.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma's pitching staff is talented. The Witherspoon brothers you'll hear a lot about. They're talented dudes. And then Cam Johnson. I don't know if they're going to hit, and this feels like it's probably going to be a rude awakening for them, like it was when they went 2-6 in football, like it was when I think they're going to go 4-14 in basketball. I don't think they're going to be good in baseball either. Their pitching's going to have to carry them. We'll see if it does.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
I didn't trust Kentucky last year. They got to Omaha. They lost a ton of talent off that team. They don't have hard throwers. They don't have a lot of pop in their lineup. I just don't trust a team that doesn't have elite talent, and Kentucky doesn't.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
I don't think Paul Maneri's got elite talent either. You've got Ethan Petrie, who's good. His Friday night starter may miss a month, may miss more than that. It's just not a pitching staff that's loaded with dudes. It's not an offense that's going to be great. Joe Healy covers this conference as close as anybody. You heard him last week say the bottom could fall out of this team if there is a bottom to fall out of anybody's team. So I don't think South Carolina's very good. Coach has got a tall order on his hands there. They're just way behind in the NIL space when it comes to baseball. You can't fix that mid-season. We'll see what South Carolina is, but I've got them at 15.
The Missouri Tigers.
Missouri's bad. Surprise, surprise. They shouldn't even be in the league. They don't fit in any sport in any way, and they're terrible at baseball. They lost 10-0 to Penn State on opening day. They lost 9-7 to Stetson. They're just bad. They don't have good pitchers. They don't have good hitters. LSU's going to play them in the season opening SEC slate. That was just really poorly said. First SEC series, LSU's playing Missouri. They'll have to get off to a really good start, and I think they will because I don't think Missouri is good at all. So that's a look at my SEC power rankings. We'll do them one more time for you. A&M 1, Tennessee 2, LSU 3. Got Florida at 4 and Arkansas at 5. That's the group I think is the best. The middle of the pack, shake them up whichever way. Mississippi State at 6, Georgia at 7. Texas at 8, Vanderbilt at 9, and Bama at 10. And then the bottom of the league, I don't trust a lot. That's Auburn at 11, Ole Miss at 12, Oklahoma at 13, Kentucky at 14, South Carolina at 15, and Missouri at 16. A lot of that may be influenced on brands, but I do have some feel for some of the returning personnel for some of these teams. I'm hopeful. If LSU's the third best team in the SEC, we won't have anything to worry about from now until Omaha, Nebraska. And that's kind of the main point of this exercise is where does LSU stack up? I think the SEC probably gets 7 hosts. And then you're talking about probably 4 national seeds. You're in the top 4. You're right where you need to be. So I got LSU at 3. That'd be just fine if they could finish there. If you're just jumping in the car and missed the news of the day, LSU and Nichols postponed for this evening. The release that LSU sent out did suggest they will have a rescheduled date later today. So if we find that out in the next 18 minutes, we'll let you know about it. If we find it out in the next 3 hours and 18 minutes, Matt will let you know about it. But one way or another, we got you covered here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll step aside for one more timeout. When we come back, we'll close out a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. I actually got an email in the middle of the show from Scott, who emailed in and said, hey, who's that company you got that does television installation, Wi-Fi systems, cameras? You got the name and number? I actually do. I've got all that right here for you. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, and it's Mitchell Fisher. His number I give you every single day. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. Scott mentioned him. It's television installation. It's surround sound and home entertainment, from as simple as the old TV hang-up to voice automated, where he can say, let's watch a movie, and the drapes will come down and the TV will come on and surround sound will perk up and the lights will dim, and they can do all that for you as well. They can handle your security systems as they've done in the Palmer House. It's a fantastic local company, and what I can promise you with AVSS is you're going to get incredible customer service after the installation. That's been our experience for a year now in the Palmer House, and it will be yours as well if you contact Mitchell Fisher and his team. Check him out on Instagram, AVSS_BR. Again, that's AVSS_BR. You can see phenomenal pictures and videos of their great work. You can always check them out online, AVSSLA.com. That's Audio Video Security Solutions. Audio Video Security Solutions.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
ESPN, Baton Rouge, and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. To sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com.
How do you think the crowd would have been in Thibodeau tonight if they had kept the game on as planned?
I'm going to guess that I don't know, you know the name of the ballpark there
Not
in Thibodeau?
a clue.
I don't know the name of it, but I'm guessing that the capacity is probably maybe 1,000, 2,000 people. So probably about 100, 200 people probably there.
No, I disagree. I think they would have filled it to start the game. At 6:30, I think it would have been full because you got a lot of folks from the home of Thibodeau area
that's true.
that would like to see LSU in person, some Nichols fans that wouldn't want to miss that chance. I think in the fourth, it would have been dwindling, but I think they would have filled it early. But they made the right call here. There's just no need to force this, and I don't know who made the call, if both coaches were comfortable with it or if LSU stepped in. But you can't jeopardize health in these kind of situations. I know it's fun to go tough it out, it'll be fine. But if the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour and it's 37 degrees, that's just not fit for baseball activity. You got a bunch of guys out there with bare hands that don't have gloves on. You got pitchers that got ligaments that are. It's just not a smart way to go about things. So I think the right call to shut that thing down, and we'll get an idea of when the reschedule is here in the coming hours. But we got to close down the show, and we do it one way every day. That is, of course, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. NHL hockey analyst Kevin Weeks is reporting that the NHL are considering a hockey team expansion in New Orleans. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that.
Leave it alone.
It just doesn't feel like that's going to work. New Orleans can't really keep a basketball franchise afloat.
They could if they actually. I mean, whenever the Pelicans are good, they are.
But they're a small market, so they don't get good. That's the point. And so I agree. It's not like no one ever goes, but it's a struggle for New Orleans to make that happen. They can handle football. It's 8 games a year. You talk about buying tickets for 40 games a year. That's completely different, and that's in the mold you're talking about with hockey. Plus, nobody down here knows any of the rules to hockey. At least we had basketball figured out when the team came here.
Yeah, but the rules with hockey doesn't matter. I mean, the people go to hockey games because they want to see fights and they want to see it's exciting.
That's why you go to minor league hockey, or you go when you're visiting a big city. When you have a team that you're invested in, you'd like to know why they got a penalty, or how long that guy's going to be off the ice, or why your team is playing with one less guy out there, or why it's offsides. But I don't know the rules of hockey. I work sports for a living. I don't know the rules. So it just doesn't, it's just not feasible. I'm not suggesting it's a bad thing for the city. I think it'd be a good thing for the city if they try it, but I'm telling you, for the league, it's not going to work.
All right, next one here. This is from Ross Dellinger. SEC ADs and coaches discussed the potential to move to 9 conference games both Monday and Tuesday. Commissioner Greg Sankey says they have not made a decision, but it does sound like several people in the room at first against 9 games are rethinking their position. 9 conference games. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it. It sounds great. It's just, I don't know how you're going to pass that when we just saw the committee say, we don't care who you play, we only care what your record is. Because we know that Indiana didn't play anybody, but they went 11-1, so they're in. And so why would you add... You have to add, I guess if you're talking about another game for 16 teams, you're adding 8 losses to the conference. Automatically adding 8 losses. So I just don't see how that's good business from the SEC's perspective. The only way it works is if you have assurances from your television partner that, you're putting an extra conference game and you're in the process taking away one of those awful non-conference games that draws no ratings. Okay, here's an extra $60 million. Here's an extra $105 million that you can divvy out. You do that, well, I think you start to make a little bit more sense, and maybe everyone jumps in line. But most people are about lining their own pockets or making sure that they're set up for success. And when you add 8 losses to your conference in a sport that is determined, we don't care who you beat, we only care that you lost, that doesn't make a lot of sense in advancing teams into the postseason and trying to compete for championships, which is ultimately what the SEC is about. Now, money is important, but if you move to 9 games in 2026, you're not going to get a big chunk of change from ESPN to reflect that. Your TV contract's set in stone. It's contractually done. So I just don't see, somebody's going to have to explain to me not why it would be better. I know why it would be better. Somebody's going to have to explain to me why the conference would vote to do it individually, because you're adding a bunch of losses.
Yeah, it's understandable why the teams, I mean, yeah, because but the thing is, though, is will the committee, because we've seen them over the years change the way that they value certain, especially because the committee changes, the people who are on the committee change. So we sometimes see different things valued. Like we've seen, top 10 wins or strength of schedule, all that stuff. Like the different statistics, sometimes some matter more than others. So we don't know for sure that the committee the next year or the year after that are going to be the same, are going to rule the same way they did last year.
But we know for sure that if you put another game on the schedule for everyone, you're guaranteeing 8 losses. Yeah. We know that for sure.
That's true.
And that's bad.
Yeah. All right, last one here. The Auburn Tigers in basketball. They stayed at number 1 in the top 25 when the rankings came out on Monday for the 6th straight week. They'll take on John Calipari and the Razorbacks tonight in Neville Arena. The Tigers are a Final Four favorite. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. The committee chair said on Saturday that they have a 2-game cushion on the number 1 overall seed, meaning they're going to be the number 1 overall seed. They could lose 2 before now and then because most teams lose tournament week. But they're really good. They play great defense. They get efficient shots. They make them. They're long. They're athletic. The question is Janai Broome going to re-aggravate that ankle?
Yeah.
And is he going to be full ready to go for the NCAA tournament? If I was Bruce Pearl, I would prioritize that over winning against Arkansas or whoever else they got on the schedule. I don't know how they'll handle it. I would sit him for a week, but that's just me. We'll see what Bruce Pearl decides to do. He's a little bit better basketball coach than me, just fractionally.
Probably just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. That's it for us here on a Wednesday edition. Taylor's going to be in the host chair tomorrow. I am out, but I will be back on Friday. Very much looking forward to that. If you missed any of our show today, catch it on demand. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Y'all join Taylor tomorrow talking some SEC baseball and the Saints. I'm back Friday for another edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales service.